Good morning, everyone. We're going to be looking at some concepts of what we call the practical Ellul. Ellul is the month as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah. Ellul is the month that we are supposed to be looking in levels of introspection within ourselves. And on top of that, it's not just simply how do we prepare for the holidays, it's basically how do we prepare for our lives. So it's important for us to get to a stage of what Ellul really means. In what we call yesteryear, in the yeshiva years, the Bali Musar would say 100 years ago that if a person didn't tremble and didn't worry in the days of Yemei Hadin, the month of El leading up to Rosh Hashanah, then he didn't even know what his life was really all about. He totally didn't get it. How could you not hear the word El and just simply tremble? And yet today, for us, most of us don't feel any semblance of difference between an El or an Av or a Tammuz or even an Adar. You know, maybe if you felt the Purim, you'd feel it. But here, coming to Rosh Hashanah, it's just, we're thinking about perhaps a long davening or shofar. We're thinking about changing our lives a little bit. But do we really think that in Ellul? And ultimately, we know for ourselves that Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, is really about a transformation that we hope to see within ourselves. Something that is a long-lasting transformation. And something that means we're taking small baby steps in order to be able to see that transformation. So we want to become an Ellul type of person. An Ellul type of person means we need something practical for ourselves that we can take on. And that practicality would help us lead us into a Rosh Hashanah. This year, in particular, it's difficult for all of us because we don't even know what we're going to experience. What is shul life going to be? Am I going to shul? What's my Rosh Hashanah going to be like? Can I really introspect? You know, I might be just a little bit more upset at Hashem right now. Like, come on, like let's get this show on the road over here. Like, I don't see any practical major purpose of where I saw my life going before. Now it's like everything's at a halt. So it's hard for me to actually introspect, really like do a self-checkup upon myself to see what I can actually be doing. So we're going to look at right now, over some days, we're going to try to look at some practical tips of what I can actually do to become an Ellul type of person who can introspect, who can see the connection of what my purpose is to Hashem, and really feel the connection so that Rosh Hashanah has real meaning to me, and I'm not just simply walking into Rosh Hashanah. It's important for us to realize that a lot of people come into Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur thinking it's just basically like a hair salon. You know, I'll go there, they'll take care of my hair, and then I'll leave. I have nothing else I have to worry about. Or perhaps a car wash. It's dirty on the outside, I go in, they wash it, and that's it. So, as we know for ourselves that it takes a lot of effort. The cleaner the car goes in, the cleaner it's going to come out of the car wash. The dirtier it is doesn't mean it's going to get at the same level of cleanliness as it was before. Especially if you're going to those automatic car washes where you pay a couple of bucks, drive through, sit there for a couple of seconds and come back out. That we know it doesn't always do such a good job. So we have to look at for ourselves is what are we to do in Ellul? So the first thing, most simplest step that we're going to look at, I think this is really what I would call maybe even an earlier stage of what some of the Sfarim suggest over here, is to come to one recognition. And today we want to discuss this one recognition, and that is understanding what Ellul is about. It is the mazel, the constellation, the mazel of Basula, what we call Virgo. In English we call that Virgo, but in Hebrew we call that Betula, Basula. So what does it actually want to tell us over here? The first stage we want to be told over here as that the concept of Basula over here means it's new, it's fresh, and it's untouched. Something that comes in a state of what's the word I'm looking for? Something that has the state of purity that's associated with it, but nothing else tainting it. So they say they say, I think in the name of Yecheskel Levenstein, or in the name of I think Rabbi Nachi Klein, that the idea behind Basula and Virgo that we are to look at is the ability to just start new. It's hard for us to imagine this simply because of the fact that when someone does something to us, really even if we say we're going to give you another chance, we still remember what you did and we don't forget. And that second chance is really knowing what you did before. When it comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ki lo machshavosai machshavosechem, the way God thinks is not the way we think. And therefore he says, I'm giving you an opportunity yearly to be able to just start over again and to work out a new path for you. I know what your tendencies are. I totally get it, says God, but I want you to see that you can start over again. And the goal over here is to us to just recognize that I can start again, and that's ultimately what the tshuva process is for us. The tshuva process for us means this ability to say, there are things that I can look back on my year and say, I can actually start over again. And when a person does return in tshuva, says V'nas Tzvi, and he's able to say to himself, I want to make my ways better. So in that sense alone, he has the zechus, the merit to have atonement for all of his sins, and he becomes a hugely different person entirely. So even though we sin, but for us to be able to stop the sin that we're doing and to accept upon ourselves to change our ways, that Hashem says, I can give you atonement for that, and I will enable you to actually visualize yourself as a new person, and that alone will actually make you into a different person. So that is our first stage to look at for ourselves, is just to come to the recognition that the concept of the Sula of Virgo is to renew, is to refresh, and is to actually restart and say that Hashem allows me to do that. He's giving me permission to do that. With that permission, that's the practical step that enables me to say, you know what, I can actually change and become totally different.